كل العراقي نادي ما ننتخب جلادي. كل العراقي نادي ما ننتخب جلادي. اصبع الزبابة حاضر عزناد يدفع الظالم عدل للمقبرة، وبالصلاة من نشهد الرب العباد، والرسول بالحرب ما أصبره. هذا الإصبع ما خلق بس للصلاة، والنصر الله ورسوله ومنبره. يصير اوديه الانتخابات الفساد، يصير اوديه الانتخابات الفساد. لو اقطعه وما يروح المفسده، لو اقطعه وما يروح المفسده. الله يخبطها بقدرته ونشرب الصافي سويه. الله يخبطها بقدرته ونشرب الصافي سويه. الله يخبطها بقدرته ونشرب الصافي سويه. هاي الكهرباء كل يوم مقطوعه، وفوق الضيف هم طقت البلوعه، ولا للشعب صوت ولا كلمه مسموعه. ها اخوتي ها اخوتي عدمن نشتكي كلها حرامية. عدمن نشتكي كلها عدمن نشتكي كلها حرامية.
In the name of the Central Committee of Coordination to support the Iraqi uprising, which consists of a conscious intellectual segment of the Iraqi society, representatives of Iraqi communities outside Iraq, and the coordinating committees of the demonstrations in all of the Iraqi provinces, and in the name of Iraqi civil society, Iraqi civil society organizations in solidarity with the demonstrators, we call upon you to know the realities of what is going on in Iraq now, to know the realities of the horrible crimes, and to take the necessary measures according to your legal and ethical obligations. Iraqi people have reached a point where they can no longer tolerate any more pains, so they have gone out in peaceful demonstrations and sit-in protests, demanding an end to the violations of their human rights, which were admitted by the international conventions and declarations, and of whose implementation you are the guardians and the trustees. These peaceful demonstrations started at the end of December 2012 and have been going on until now, where they are approaching their 100th day. The people's demands are the very essence of the fundamental human rights of free and dignified life. The rights of education, work, health, and the rights to end the systematic rape and torture of the innocent in the prison and to punish the perpetrators.
The microphone close to your mouth.
They also demand the halting of all executions carried out in the absence of the simplest criteria of justice. One of the key demands is to annul Article 4 of the law against terrorism, an article which is used as a pretext against political opponents. According to this article, tens of thousands of innocent political opponents and anyone who might have a different opinion of the governments are being arrested and placed in prisons. They also demand the demilitarization of cities and the appointment of a special UN human rights rapporteur in Iraq. When the government did not respond to these legitimate requests, the demonstrators asked for changing of the government and for the dropping of the current constitution written during the American occupation of Iraq, a fact that undermines its legitimacy. The crimes committed by the current Iraqi government, headed by Nouri al-Maliki, against the Iraqi people have exceeded all imagination and tolerance and cannot be accepted by any human beings under any circumstances. They are a continuation of the crimes committed by the foreign invasion of Iraq back in 2003, where human dignity is wasted and the right of a free and dignified life are flagrantly violated. This corrupt government has plunged thousands of Iraqi youth, women, and elders in prison without committing any sin or any crime. These arrests have been conducted without a warrant, and actually in some cases a warrant is issued after the arrest has been made. Inside the prisons, shocks and limb amputations are now normal procedures. It is well and officially documented now that the rape of prisoners, whether young women, young boys or older men, has become a normal occurrence. You are aware of the psychological agony of such violations in a society like the Iraqi one. We imagine that you are aware of the reports issued by organizations concerned with human rights regarding the details of such crimes. We imagine that you do follow what is happening in Iraq from your position of responsibility. The reports of the International Transparency consider Iraq as one of the worst worldwide in corruption, terrorism, unemployment, and poverty. We are sure your conscience refuses to accept the continuation of these crimes. Accordingly, we urge you to speak out and condemn the crimes committed by the current government against the people of Iraq. The most surprising thing is that you have ignored the present Iraqi Prime Minister's declared threat to exterminate and kill the peaceful demonstrators and protesters who are demanding and calling for their legitimate rights. His speech is audio-visually documented on television, and he also supports the sectarian militia formations which threat to draw the protesters into confrontation. He has asked the army to confront and agitate the protesters in Fallujah, where 8 demonstrators were killed on Friday, January 25th, 2013 of this year. If the Prime Minister al-Maliki continues his criminal stance, then Iraq faces a terrible massacre, where potentially hundreds of thousands of innocent people will be slaughtered. We call upon you, in your different positions, to raise your voices and condemn the actions of the governing authority in Iraq. Otherwise, you are going to bear the human and ethical responsibility as heads of international and regional organizations and assemblies whose essential duty is to protect and maintain human rights and dignity, and above all else, to protect life. The Iraqi people are not demanding that you support them. Rather, they demand that you take the attitude dictated by your conscience and your responsibilities. History will record this attitude with respect and admiration. We appeal to you. We appeal to you to hold your legal and ethical responsibility and demand that you interfere immediately to stop the massacre that the current Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki and his aides want to commit.
Down, down, Maliki! Down, down, Maliki! Down, down, Maliki! Down, down, Maliki!
Once again, we appeal to you to hold on to your legal and ethical responsibility and to practice it, and we demand that you interfere immediately to stop the massacre that the current Prime Minister and his aides want to commit. Accept our most sincere respect and our most sincere regards. The Central Coordination to support the Iraqi uprising, demonstrations of coordinating committees in all provinces, organizations of civil societies in Iraq, and the Iraqi Popular Movement in Canada. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Harper, please no! 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 Maliki has to go! Maliki has to go! Mr. Harper, please no! Mr. Harper, please no! Maliki has to go! Maliki has to go! Maliki and Hitler say! Maliki and Hitler say! Only difference is the name! Only difference is the name! Maliki and Hitler say! Maliki and Hitler say! Only difference is the name! Only difference is the name! Tell me why! Tell me why! Tell me why! Tell me why! Iraqi children has to die! Iraqi children has to die! Tell me why! Tell me why! Tell me why! Tell me why! Iraqi women have to die! لك بس بالتعذيب والإقصاء نجحت وبكفاءة ومن نار ضيران جابوها الوصية ومن نار ضيران جابوها الوصية يلا 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 نرضع الظالم سوية يلا 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 نرضع الظالم سوية ومن أجل العراق ومن أجل العراق اليوم ثرنا ومن أجلك يا عراق هاليوم ثرنا أخذها والما يطلع ويانا عهد نظام طفي 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 والما يطلع ويانا والما يطلع ويانا
إيران برا برا بغداد حرة حرة
إيران برا برا بغداد حرة حرة
إيران برا برا بغداد حرة حرة
The Iraqi government effectively and to all means imported wrong information and fell short on delivering the most basic service to the Iraqi people. In addition to bringing some of the world's worst administrative, financial and social corruption, landing the country at the top of the global corruption index. Moreover, the Iraqi government went as far as to placing innocent women in jail due to no crime of their own, but rather because of their spouses, fathers, brothers or sons being suspect. Many of those women have been subject to the most basely emotional, physical and sexual abuse. Utterly gruesome is the justification offered by members of the government whose Arabs goys or jealousy has escaped them, who publicly admitted many cases of sexual harassment but explained that this was carried out by lesbian inmates. Is there any hope left after all this stopping? The Iraqi government clearly doesn't care about the honor of Iraqis Noor. That is their woman. It appears to have forgotten that the honor and dignity of Iraqi citizens, men and women, are far more important than the entire political system and imported democracy, and that Iraqis will defend their honor and dignity with their lives. Our demands are: first, pulling government forces, army and police from regions and replacing them with local law enforcement teams. Second, releasing all prisoners, including women and all those who haven't been found guilty of any crime. Third, annulling Article 4 Sunni of terrorism law and the notorious 7th article of the Constitution. Fourth, revisiting the imbalanced ratios of a province's representation in the Iraqi parliament. Fifth, compensating all Sunnis affected by imprisonment and raids by U.S. occupation or government forces.
The Iraqi government has unfortunately successfully imposed sectarianism in the Iraqi society. In addition to that, it has brought with it some of the worst social, political and just economic situations to Iraq. And as a result of that, Iraq is actually now at the top of the global scale in terms of corruption. Economic corruption and political corruption, as well as social corruption. Moreover, there has been, the government has used the 4th article of the Terrorism Act in the Constitution to arrest tens of thousands of people. Many of them are women whose only crime was that their brother or their father or their son was suspect. Systematic rape and sexual harassment in prisons has been documented, and in some cases has actually been legitimized, or not legitimized, but has been excused by some spokespersons of the government claiming that it was carried out by lesbian inmates, as if that makes it okay. Iraq as a country in 2006 was exporting 20 million barrels of oil per day. To this day, there is no place in Iraq that has 24 hours of continuous electricity. The people of Iraq have said enough is enough and are protesting peacefully and having peaceful stand-ins, demanding the basic human rights. Freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of choosing your political party and having your political views. We're here today in front of the parliament. If I was gonna go to a police officer right now and say I disagree with the Harper government, whatever, it's okay. You can't do that in Iraq. And that is a basic human right that they are fighting for. Thank you.
الله سبحانه وتعالى في ميزان حسناتكم جميعا. هو شرف وهو حق وهو استحقاق علينا لإخوتنا بالداخل. ندعو الله سبحانه عز وجل
يا الله
أن يوفقهم في وقفتهم.
آمين.
وأن يسدد أقدامهم.
آمين.
ويثبت خطاهم.
آمين.
ويجعل النصر